You are listening to the Cookbook Love podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 388.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love podcast. How's everybody doing today? Hope you are all doing well. I am excited to be here. I just returned from a long weekend trip to Hilton Head Island. And while we were there, we enjoyed a historic snow, which I found kind of fascinating. It's a Hilton Head, for those of you that don't know, is a coastal island off the coast of southern South Carolina, really close to Savannah, which of course is in Georgia. And yes, on Saturday, it snowed in Hilton Head. Just a couple of inches. It was really pretty. But the roads, of course, were fine because the surface temperature of the roads was warm. And the next day after the snow, it got up into the high 30s, low 40s. So we were able to get out and drive on Sunday without any problem. But it was interesting to be there for a snowstorm. Also, I'm home now in my cookbook bunker, enjoying a nice Friday here, doing some things around the house and the office, recording this podcast, and it's snowing here in Kentucky. We have had a lot of snow this winter, so it's a great weekend to stay home, watch some UK basketball, enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday, and look forward to just being here and enjoying the snow and wintertime and some good sports. So before we dive into our interview today, I do want to let you know that I have a very special masterclass coming up called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. In this masterclass, which is a free masterclass, you can discover what traditional publishers are looking for in 2026. You can position yourself for a publishing deal and save years of trial and error. You can craft a viable cookbook concept that attracts agents and publishers. And I'm going to give you 3 deal-ready essentials that you need to have prepared so that you can get paid to write a cookbook. If you are a chef, food blogger, culinary educator, recipe developer, dietitian, or passionate home cook with a dream to write a cookbook, I want you to come to this class so you can stop drifting and start focusing on the things that you need to prepare to navigate the cookbook publishing industry. If you want to find an agent or a publisher without an agent, this is the class for you. I know a lot of you have recipes, you have ideas for cookbooks, but you want a clear path to a publisher, and you want to stop guessing and start building what's needed to attract an agent or a publisher. It's exactly what I'm going to cover in this class. I would love to have you join me. If you head on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass, and the link is down below in the show notes, you can get registered and you'll be in the loop for the upcoming masterclass. These classes are always really fun to teach. I'm constantly inviting new people into my community, into my world through my email list. So it's really fun every 3 months or so to teach a new class, to talk to you guys all about publishing, and to help you get your cookbook traditionally published. I believe we can change the world with cookbooks. I think cookbooks lead people to the kitchen and to food and to ingredients. And all of that helps us to build better relationships. It helps us to feed ourselves well, feed our families, feed other people. And it also can help us to save money or earn money if you want to create money from writing a cookbook and the life that you can then live as a cookbook author. So this is exactly what we're going to be talking about in this masterclass. I think that it is a wonderful way to share your expertise through the publication of a book. And I can't wait to have you join me for the masterclass. So again, it's cookbookwritersacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass. All right, so today on the show, I have an interview with Susan Gravely. Susan is the founder and CEO Emerita of VIETRI, a lifestyle brand offering handcrafted Italian tabletop and home and garden accessories. Susan started VIETRI alongside her sister and mother after they took a magical trip to Italy in 1983. They fell in love with the hand-painted dinnerware found on the Amalfi Coast and decided to start a wholesale business. Since that trip 40 years ago, VIETRI has become the largest American importer of Italian ceramics, and Susan is the author of 2 books, Italy on a Plate, which I was honored to have her on the show back for episode 234, talking about that book. And today we're going to talk about her newest book, Italy in a Glass, where Susan explores the Italian ritual of aperitivo, where cocktails, mocktails, and small bites set the stage for festive gatherings. This book is, of course, inspired by her experiences in Italy. She shares the art of entertaining Italian style, blending personal stories with time-tested recipes and tips from her Italian friends. So you're also going to hear us talk about how she built a global brand, the Italian craftsmanship, and living beautifully. We're going to talk all about Susan's cookbook writing and storytelling through food. And of course, what I think is also very amazing is Susan's leadership, her legacy, and what's next for her in the next chapter of her life as the CEO Emerita of VIETRI. So without further delay, let's dive into this interview with Susan Gravely. Hi, Susan. Welcome to the Cookbook Love podcast.
Thank you, Maggie. I'm so glad to be back.
Yes, I'm excited to have you back. We shared an episode, almost 3 years ago, talking all about one of your previous books, Italy on a Plate. Today, we're here to talk about Italy in a Glass. But before we get started, we want an update about who you are and what you do for anyone that didn't hear the previous show.
Well, thank you. My name is Susan Gravely, and I started a company called VIETRI 43 years ago with my mother and sister. I am now CEO Emerita as of a year ago, and I have fabulous, young, bright people running the company now. And I get to write books and go around and do book signings and dream up new ideas and meet the girls when we're buying new products. So
Wonderful.
Life is good. Life is good. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and that's great too.
Great. And I remember on our previous episode, we talked about, I was raised in Lexington, Kentucky, and we talked about the tobacco auctions in Lexington, because didn't your father have a connection to the tobacco industry? And that's actually what took your families to Italy, correct?
Exactly. We had a 3rd generation tobacco company buying and selling burley, which is the sweet part of tobacco. And Daddy had mitral valve problems, but seemed solved. He went to Georgia to introduce the new owners of our company to the Italian conglomerate, which he loved, came back and sadly had a heart attack at 60.
Yeah.
2 years later, Mama invited only the daughters, not the sons, to go to Italy. And on that trip, we found our dinnerware, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that family trip turned into the business that we're talking about today, which ultimately turned into you running the business and you writing the books, which we're here to talk about also.
Great.
Let's talk a little bit about the early days of running a business like that. Some of the risks that were inherent in that business, turning points that happened, because there are many people that listen to this show that not only love cookbooks, reading cookbooks, hearing the stories of the people that write them, but many people are also in business. And I think that your wisdom and advice from that perspective could be helpful to them also. So early days of the company, risks that you took and relationships that you developed.
Yeah, early days were spoon to mouth. We had no business experience. I didn't know what an asset or a liability was. I had a master's in play therapy and had started the first outpatient pediatric play program at Duke, had burned out, But what I did know is how to start something and create something and follow through with it, and had done things like that all of my life. So when we took this trip and decided on the dinnerware and got to a price, we used our contacts. I asked friends of my father's who had been successful, who had failed and then been successful again, some who were entrepreneurs, some who had gone to, Harvard Business School, to be my mentors and be on my board of directors, excuse me. And that was very helpful because I believe that we all need to work together, help each other, brainstorm together, listen to each other's experiences. I became the CEO because I was single, could give every waking moment to the company. My sister was older, but had 2 young children. And my mother was going to love being part of it, but she didn't want to work. So we started that way. We started with $20,000. We interviewed banks. Banks didn't interview us. We ended up with a wonderful woman banker because she understood what we were going to do. And there we went. I found out about gift shows. So I called the owner of the important gift show, the New York Tabletop. He said he had no space, but I said, please let me show you my plates. And so I flew up the next day and he gave me 6 feet beside the registration desk. And the first person that walked in was Neiman Marcus, who wrote a $14,000 order. And you better believe when the first container came and we had my mother's friends, students from the university, the UNC soccer team, and we went to the bus station to get people that needed work to unload it. We shipped Neiman's first, March 21st, 1984, and they've been in an account for every year since. So I would say off the start for women is to be brave. If you've got an idea and you can create a plan and know that it will cost you twice what you think it's going to cost, and you're willing to lose that if it doesn't work, then do it. Or start really small, stay in the same direction, keep your direction tight, and keep going in that direction, enjoying every person along the way that you meet. It's fun, as you know, Maggie,
Yep.
And it broadens your perspective on life and the world, and it's worth doing.
Yeah. And that sounds like words I even needed to hear today, Susan, because I consider myself to be in the middle of my business, especially working in the online space, developing relationships with people via the way we're talking today, helping people all over the world. And it's interesting how important the relationships are. And you even developed relationships with these artisans who were designing and creating the dinnerware that you were selling here to Neiman Marcus. So tell us about developing relationships with real people doing real creative work in Italy and how that transpired.
Well, it first transpired by going to the first factory that the San Pietro was using, which was a factory called Solimeni in VIETRI sul Mare, and meeting the father who ran it with his brood of 10 children who were babies at that point. He was tough. He told us one price. When we went back, he said that price wasn't good. That I learned with him and watching my sister Frances how to be a better negotiator and getting to a place where you realize that it's getting to yes, which is a wonderful small book that I carry with me. It says that you need to get to yes by collaboration. And how do you do that with Italians who seem to love you from the beginning? But I've told many people, as a Southerner, we like you immediately. You have to do 3 things we don't like, and we don't have time for you. Italians look like they're your friends. but it takes 3 times of doing things with them for them to trust you.
So it's kind of the opposite of being
It's the opposite.
And you have to work your way in, whereas with being Southern, people kind of work their way out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that I learned along the way. When you're invited to an Italian's home for dinner, you know you're a friend for life.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to look at what a factory was doing, understand their hand and their craft, and then work directly with the maestros, because a design is created as the work of many hands and minds. So I would lean a design towards the American style, always with Italian spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so working with people in a craft, it just became our point of beginning a friendship.
Yeah.
And then with the owners negotiating the prices and then being consistent. I was in the beginning there 6 months a year because there was no way to be in touch. And then it moved down to probably 3 months a year, and maybe a little less, because I knew them. We could do a lot by Zoom, and I wanted them to work, and we were building a company over here.
Yeah.
Friendship wise, I'm the godmother of 2 children. I've been a witness in 3 relationships and marriages, and I am now honored to have 3 sets of keys to 3 cities in Italy that are all related to ceramic. So I consider some of my best friends Italians.
Yeah.
And Bill and I now spend 2 months a year in Florence, February and March, where I'm writing books and visiting factories and seeing old friends. Nice. So it's a big part of my life.
Yeah. And Italians are known for living beautifully, so to speak, if I can summarize it in those 2 words. And how has this influenced your approach to what you all bring to the company and what you bring to your business and to your life? Because I often think that those 2 are intertwined together.
I think design and business are intertwined. They say that people that take music as children or enjoy the arts are going to be better business people because they're using both sides of their brains. For Italians, it is the moment that counts, the moment we're in, the relationship we're in. And that moves all the way to their lunch, to their dinner, to their home. And they don't think that much forward or backwards. They grieve and then it's over. They plan and then they know when it's going to happen. I've learned a lot about that and trying to be more in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Their homes are always, from people without much money to grand homes, are filled with art. And they know the history. They know what it means to them and why they have it. They have many heirlooms. But then they live the younger ones live in a more contemporary space like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned those things. It's not how much, it's the quality of how we live and what our relationships are like.
Yeah. Yeah. And in this world where we're sometimes surrounded by more things that are mass produced.
Yes.
People shopping for fast fashion, fast dinnerware, fast food, fast everything. What has it meant to have a company that is so connected to the handcrafted work that these artisans do?
It means everything, because what I'm selling and what I'm using and what other people use is a living organism. Clay and glass expand and contract with heat and cold so that they move. And we work in glazes for handcrafts, not for mass production, so that they're warmer and you can feel that in holding them. When I set a table and when I see these things, I switch it around, and every time, everything I'm using, I'm thinking about the person that has created it with their hands. So it means everything. A lot of people that buy in Europe now buy in Portugal, and that's mass production, and that's enormous factories. I still work with 30 smaller factories where I know the craftspeople. I say hello. I take Valentines to them, and that they work because they know and love us because they know we will put it in homes that care about it. Yeah. And if we don't, they're not the right homes for us. I was just doing a book signing in Greensboro yesterday, and I was so thrilled to walk in, and 30 of the 40 people were young, and they loved VIETRI, and they loved entertaining. And that is a really nice feeling. Now, yes. One of them buys their melamine because it's so much easier for them outside and with their children, but it looks just like our ceramic. Yeah. So the younger generations that have experienced traveling abroad, who have experienced eating with their parents casually and not casually, who love their home and pretty things, will continue buying, I think, our things and celebrating life by dining
100%.
And by eating.
100%. You're singing my song. And I think that when the kitchen is an active place in a home, I put an introduction to my first cookbook. Gosh, it's almost been 20 years ago, but our kitchens were turning into places that were sterile and people weren't using them. And when a kitchen is active and people are in there cooking and you know that they're eating or they're feeding people, there's just something about the way the home feels.
So Maggie, over Christmas, I have a friend named Paula Vojnovic. She's a Serbian American, did her graduate program in Florence, and now is one of the top art historians in Italy. And her sister lives in Charlotte. So her sister, brother-in-law, and mother, all Serbian, came and spent a couple of nights with us. And her mother immediately wanted to teach me how to make Serbian bread. It was so much fun because we had to knead 3 different times and the smells were all over the house. And her joy was making this bread, and my joy was learning how to make it with her and having people in and out, oohing and eyeing how it smelled. So whether it's cooking or setting a table or picking flowers from your garden or buying inexpensive flowers, but knowing how to add greenery from your yard. Yeah. It's about gathering and enjoying each other and making it a home.
Yeah, 100%. It's the, other than having a fire in the fireplace, which is probably a seasonal thing, maybe depending on where you live, with real wood and real flames, I think the kitchen, of course, it's just a way to cook on that fire. It's like it's the best thing ever. And I think then that food and the wine and the table and the community and the joy connect to your product, but also to the books that you're writing.
Right.
Italy on a Plate, the last book we talked about. And then of course, today we have Italy in a Glass.
Yes.
What inspired you? Obviously, it's kind of an obvious answer, but I want to hear it in your own words, like to take a step into the book writing space about this rather than just the setting the table space.
I think the reason is that I've always loved to share any information I have. And growing up in this small town in North Carolina and having lots of foreigners in our home coming through because of tobacco, I sat in my Sunday dress and served drinks or brought the tray of cigarettes, and I was to listen and not speak unless being asked. And I, over and over, heard stories and laughter, and it just created this enormous world of curiosity for me. I was asked through all these years, I wish you'd do a travel book. I wish you'd do a business book. I wish you would do cookbooks. And I literally woke up one morning and thought, I'm going to do a combination of that. And it's going to be a memoir as well as a lot of fun writing about friends or restaurants that I love, and also about food that's placed on VIETRI or drink. And that's how it happened. The books are stories about different people and different places. And Italy on a Plate was more about main courses and meals. Italy in a Glass is about mocktails and cocktails and wines and winemakers, and then beautiful places that have the most beautiful bars, Bar Florian in St. Mark's Square, that celebrating life with a beautiful glass of wine is what people do. Or going on a hike in the Dolomites and pulling out an array of delicious foods as well as a hearty bottle of red wine. So I choose the people and the places according to how they celebrate, and this one with wine and small plates.
You said something a little bit ago that both the clay and the pottery and the glass are alive. They expand and contract. And right. I think it's fascinating to think about that as, even the focal point of both of the books, the plate and now the glass. Let's talk about glassware for a minute, if you're willing to do that.
Yes.
Because I don't often... We often think about the plate we're eating off of, but I am not sure that people think about the glassware as much.
Right.
So I want you to give us the reason why and why you think we need to pay attention to the glassware as much as we do to the plate we're eating off of.
Personally, I think the way a glass feels in your hand is the starting point for how the beverage will taste. Again, I remember as a young person, my parents having beautiful glassware, and I would ask about it, and it would be mouth blown in Venice, or it would be something they picked up somewhere else. And I would always want to know the story. The pivotal place for me was when we met a family called the Parisis, who live in Marostica, which is a medieval castle town. And the father was blowing Christmas ornaments for us and a few glasses. And he used a type of glass that's like Pyrex, but very, very thin. And so you could create the fish and the cows and the angels and the birds in figurines as Christmas ornaments. But you could also create beautiful glasses where you could have a hot toddy in them. You could boil water in them, as well as put them in the freezer for something really cold. And I was astounded. I would stand literally for an hour with glasses on, watching Signor Parisi blow something and watch his gentle hands pulling the glass and creating the two pieces and firing and molding them together. And I was mesmerized. So for me, whether it's a thin glass like theirs or our original Puccinelli glass that was heavy and wonderfully country, putting your lip to a mouth-blown glass and then slowly tasting what's in it is a dream. Yeah. It's just over the top exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so many different beautiful colors of glass,
Oh.
The designs, the impressions, the whole thing about it. So I want you also to tell us a little bit about this book related to the glass and how your travel and relationships in Italy actually influenced the recipes as well.
So the recipes are all Italian. When I decided on who I was going to write about, I asked them to give me their favorite recipes so that, we have the rendition of a Northern Aperol spritz or we have an Americano, which is just sweet vermouth, Campari, and club soda with a little orange. We have mocktails, and then we have two vineyards, the Antinoris and the Matzes. Both started in 1342 and 45, who would talk about their grapes and how the taste and the flavor and the legs looked in glass. And so it made me lean towards glass even more. I then, loving color, would work with the Parises on creating dots or stripes or plaids or two colors rectangularly, but always thinking, how did it fit the lip? How did it feel when you held that glass and sipped? So the drinks and their little small plates, antipastis that are either savory or sweet, all came from discussions with them about their glass or their wine and what did they think was right to give to Americans as recipes.
Yeah. And your chapters in the book, if we look, I love looking at a table of contents for a cookbook and seeing how we're expanding on just the traditional appetizer, soup, salad, dessert. And you are talking about atmosphere, warmth, conversation, elegance, craftsmanship, home, entertaining, celebrating, humor, and letting go and enjoying, and how the food and the glassware obviously lends itself to all of those experiences. Let's talk a little bit about the chapter on humor. Find the humor. I don't know that I've ever seen a cookbook with a chapter called Find the Humor. This is chapter 10. It's the
Fratantoni.
Family in Sicily. Tell us about that chapter.
Well, Sicilians are a different breed. I mean, they would very, very much like to be a separate country. They are even more laid back. Domani, which is tomorrow, is domani and domani. And the Fratantoni brothers and their father have always been really special to me. The oldest son, Filippo, is the true designer. Another is the store manager. The other is the production. But they create everything from very large pots down to tiles to first stones. And first stones are a plaque that is put on the wall that originally every new home would have a wall plate to bring good luck and best wishes into the home. And we would do them with deer, with suns, with St. Francis, with lots and lots of designs. Well, I was in this town called called Santo Stefano di Camastra. Mm-hmm. My mother was there and my husband was there. And my mother said, "What is the name of this main street?" Because it was a almost dirt road that was the only street from Palermo to Catania on the west side. And one of the sons said, "We call it Via Susanna," for me, because I had brought so much business into their little village. And that is their kind of sense of humor. Yes. It's always Susanna banana, yes. They loved, and they love all people who will come and enjoy what they're doing and talk about it with them. So I have seen a million pieces of products being blown or molded. And every time it's new. Every time, Maggie.
Yeah.
It's so that's why we called this town giving us a sense of humor.
Yes. And they have their family recipes. There's eggplant caponata.
Oh, yum.
Stuffed sardines.
Yes.
Sicilian milk pudding with biscotti. Delicious. And cinnamon rosillo. That looks like it's a is it like a infused
it's
drink with cinnamon, orange peel, water, and sugar?
Exactly. Yes. And 96% Everclear if you want it to have alcohol in it. Sicilians, Italians don't use cinnamon very much, but Sicilians use it more. And they like drinks that have that sweet, bitter combination. And they think of cinnamon as bitter. We don't, because we always have it with sugar and put it on our toast, right? But that is a classic drink for them.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And it's neat that you were able to collect those recipes from the families and tell the story of the families. How many brothers were in the family? Do you know?
Oh, there were 3 brothers. I will tell you another funny story. The first time,
the humor chapter.
The humor chapter. The first time that my mother went with me, we were invited down to their beach cabana for dinner with their friends who owned another factory we worked with. Well, we arrived. They were so excited. They said, "We are going to give you specialties every meal." The first thing we had was calamari in black ink. Black ink is what comes out of calamari. So it was a soup with black ink. We looked at it and it tastes like licorice. You have to try it, but we didn't eat much. The next 5 dishes were all made with black ink.
Oh, no.
A risotto, then a pasta, then a filetto, a steak with black ink and black ink gelato. Well, we had to try it and but Mom and I left and went, well, we did it, and here we are, we've got to try all the flavors of the world, but that would be a very funny time for us.
Yes, black ink from beginning of the meal all the way to the end of the meal.
Right.
They didn't use it in the drink or the cocktail or the...
No, thank God. I think I drank a lot that night.
Wonder what they pair with a black ink. Was it a red wine?
No, we drank red and white.
Yeah.
And it depended upon, the gelato was with white, I remember clearly. And the first course, the calamari soup with black ink was white. And then we moved into their reds. And Sicilian wines are delicious. Mm-hmm. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah. But we were eating so many carbs, we had no bread. So it was an interesting and new experience.
Right. And when people finish with reading this book, experiencing this book, using the book, trying some of the recipes, what do you hope they take away beyond the food from Italy in a Glass?
I hope they take away a joy in living, a joy in having friends over, that it doesn't have to be a production, that you can eat take out pizzas, just use wonderful plates and glasses. Learn a poem that's a Sicilian and toast with that poem. Talk about your trip to Italy or your dream to go. I want people to know, as my father showed me on a standing globe, that wherever they live, and someplace in Italy is only a plane ticket or a phone call away. So you need to go, you need to relax, you need to cut off your telephone, and you need to just exist, just be.
Yes, sounds great. And your leadership and your legacy and your directing this company has changed over the past year, and it's evolved. Now that you're the CEO, is it Emeritus?
Emerita.
As
a woman, right?
You are looking at this business from a different perspective.
Yes.
Let's talk about legacy and leadership from this perspective, and then would love to talk a little bit about, in closing up, advice you would give to women who are building businesses today. We talked about that in the beginning, but I think that there's maybe another message here related to legacy.
Yeah, it's luckily for me, I've never had much turnover in employees because I've run a transparent company. Everyone knows what the sales are, knows what the goals are. And we have always had mixed teams meeting and working together, from having 3 of us to now having, in peak season, 70 employees. I think that is really key to building a successful company. I've also felt that I have always walked my talk, so that when there were the 2 down times in '08 and in 18, I was the first to cut my salary. And that when we had to do things like that and cut people understood, they reacted, and they knew that when things came back, I would repay them and I would hire the people we had to let go if they were available. Having Holly as the CEO, having a fantastic woman CFO, having an incredible woman in design, I split my job into a lot of parts. We also have some Renaissance men that work with us too, and they love it. But women will communicate together, and we're not afraid to ask for advice or help or brainstorm. And I think that has been a huge part of our company reputation. I still mentor our CEO. I'll meet our CEO and design person in Frankfurt for a couple of days to look at product. So I get the best part of the work in meeting with Holly regularly, hearing, brainstorming directions and what we're going to do, like opening a new retail store in August. But I also don't have to do it. I don't have to manage it anymore. So it gives me time to think and reflect and write and send ideas. So it's a perfect combination for me.
Yeah.
And I trust these women so much.
Yeah. I think that's foundational.
Foundational. And I was just fly fishing and my husband and I, listening to a lot of men, I asked several of them, tell me some of the most difficult times you have had. And they were all related to being let down and trusting people. And then the trust was gone. And I think that's the most important part of it, that you understand everyone's directions, that you all have a sense of values that you live by, that everyone has their back.
That's right. And I think part of being trusting of people is also being a trustworthy person yourself.
Absolutely.
That you are a person that people can trust, and the trust then is reciprocated back. I often think that this is something, I guess, as I've matured and grown and raised children and running a business, that often what I want to see in other people, I have to build that first within myself, because I'm only going to see whatever the reflection that it's kind of like a reflection of my interior relationship with me. And I think when you talk about your values and being willing to let your values lead, so to speak, and be part of your business, it's not always easy.
Not easy. And you will go through times where you've turned right or turned left and hit a block, and then you've had to turn around. You have young children. That's taking time. You don't feel you're giving the company enough time. Your husband is working, and he works in a different way than you do. And so how does that cause camaraderie and conflict? And I would say, to young women, to trust your gut. Start small, but start. I still am dismayed at the number of women that do not have the confidence they need to have. And Maggie, I think you've said it better than anyone, which is, there is nothing wrong with therapy. There is nothing wrong with having 2 good friends that you get together once a month, if you don't have time, to talk about the good and the bad.
Yep.
Because it's not, you're growing up. You're growing up.
Yep.
I would also say there's never you're never too old to start something.
Yeah.
I think 30s are the beginning of your life. You have more experience. You feel a little more confident. You're starting to decide who are really people you want to spend time with and that you don't. And you're molding yourself into your moral identity, like you said.
Yep.
And then it gets better and better and better. I'm 74. I feel like I'm 50. And I still am molding. I'm still listening and thinking about what you said and how I want to think about that more.
Yeah. Yeah. And your business is a product-based business. It's tangible
Absolutely.
products.
Yes.
Dinnerware, glassware, tableware, now in books, tangible products that are created that people buy. Now, not all businesses are selling tangible products. Some are information businesses, some are services that people provide. But this tangible business requires the craftsmen, the people to create them, the warehouses, the stores, the shipping, the fulfillment.
And the end consumer.
Yes, and the people that are actually buying these products.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a long chain of creating tangible things. I think books, obviously, this is my personal bias, but I think they fit beautifully in a kitchen space because we're dealing with food and ingredients and knives and pans and heat and tangible environments. Kitchens, as far as I know, are not digital spaces. We're not eating that way. We're not designed to eat that way. It's all about tangible things and people, real people. Yeah. So I love the books just fit for you. To me, it just all makes sense because it all, you could close your eyes and imagine someone having maybe some of your dinnerware, your glassware, and your books, and it kind of just completes the whole thing. All they really need then is the wine, the food, and the people.
There you go.
They can gather together.
That's right. And, you don't have to have a big kitchen.
No.
People gather in the smallest spaces.
No,
it
100%.
always is that way. And opening up kitchens to eating spaces is so smart because you can have more people gathering with enjoying all their senses, their eyes, their smell, their touch, their feeling a part of a group. And it's not a happy time right now for a lot of people on feeling isolated.
Yep.
And it just takes that step of risk to say, I'm going to invite 2 people over and not worrying about anything except being together and eating and drinking something.
Yeah. It's predicted that this weekend, we're supposed to have some bad winter weather. Now, maybe in your neighborhood
we are
also.
Too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as I was walking this morning, I was thinking about the night that it's supposed to snow. Here it's supposed to be on Saturday. And we have a neighbor who is a widower, but him and his wife have been good friends of ours for a long time. And it occurred to me that it's fun to get together with him on the weekend. But I said to myself while I was walking, I'd like to make a point to try to do something, but I'm not sure he would be able to walk here. So maybe we could bring food and walk there. And carry our food with us and go visit and still get together, even in the snow, in the snow. And because to me, it's all meant to be shared. It's, and even if someone has to eat solo every now and then, I still think there's benefit to cooking something good for our bodies, something fun to eat, and then enjoying a nice plate and glassware, even when we're alone.
I couldn't agree with you more. And there are a lot of single people, and we have the same situation as you. It's a single man, and I've already invited him. Why don't you come spend the night with us? We've got extra room, so you're not alone with this bad weather, especially if the electricity goes off.
100%. So I think it's very important. I think the connection's very important. I think talking to people, sharing food, sharing meals. So I just have always admired the work you do from the first time we talked. I'm so excited that you're continuing with Italy in a Glass, and obviously your business is evolving and there's some exciting things happening. You mentioned a retail store is now going to be open. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're so excited. It's going to be in Chapel Hill. It'll be on Highway 54, right in town. So there'll be a wonderful awning that says VIETRI, and it'll be August, and we'll finally have a place to showcase everything we do, as well as special things we buy in Italy that'll only be in the store, from food to wonderful small items to art. So that's very exciting. I've really wanted to do that. We have an outlet store that's in Hillsborough, North Carolina, and we have online and tangible sales. The big ones are the first weekend in May and the first weekend in October, and that will have thousands of people come because it's the way we can sell overstock, first quality returns. It is not a bump and dent type of sale, because that's not worth selling. But that's a lot of fun. And then we sell online and to over 500 stores in the United States. So I hope people will ask for VIETRI and we can get it for them. And if they don't have a store, they can call us and we can help them in any way.
Yeah.
You know, the most important thing is quality, and we make sure that what we sell is quality.
Yeah. What's your what are you hearing about the future of retail stores, like department stores?
Yeah, I was asked that yesterday. What I see happening is there will be less department stores, and they will be consolidated. You know, Saks is gone.
Yeah.
Neiman's had bought Saks. Our top store is Bloomingdale's now, and they are doing really well, have been managed well, and didn't open as many stores. I think that brand stores are the thing now. There are less specialty stores, though there are fabulous specialty stores in almost any resort that you can go to. And I think those stores are really, really important because people need to be able to see variety and also create their own lifestyle.
Yep.
For us, because we sell linens and so much dinnerware and flatware and glass and wall pieces, we can show people things from being very contemporary to our original Campagna line with the animals. We have melamine that works if you've got another house, and then we've got big urns for outside. So we're really excited about it. I've wanted to do this. I love the idea of buying from some of their favorite people. We're going to be introducing a line by somebody named Ortigia, which is the name of an island in Sicily. And these will be bath soaps and, you know, the perfumery things, as well as bags and pocketbooks and Kafkans. So anything we can find that's handcrafted, that has a story, that we know has an American spirit to the Italian design, we're going to bring that in.
Wonderful. And that'll be in the retail store that you're opening. People will be able to see it and enjoy the line. Wonderful. I do have a question now about the quiet life of Susan. You say in February and March, you go to Florence. You get to spend some time away from the business, so to speak, which I don't know if it's really possible. We're ever 100% away, but you do some writing and some thinking. What kind of tips do you have for people to enhance that part of their life? So many people aspire to write more. Maybe it's for personal reflection, maybe it's for publication. But the value of writing in your life and the value of this expression of yourself in words. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I think that you said it earlier. And for me, it has been a journey to become more quiet. I've been around so many people, and my personality is one of loving to dig into people and places that I go. that I find that if I can go to a familiar place and have a spot at that familiar space where I choose to not see many people and breathe, then it opens up all these creative pores and allows me to start writing. I will get to Florence 15 days before Bill. I will have a wonderful friend come visit who lives in Rome for a couple of nights. And every morning I'll get up, I'll take about a 2-mile walk by myself, will not have on earplugs, and I just look. And I have my phone if I want to take pictures. I'll come back, have another coffee, and I'll sit down and kind of calm myself and start writing. And that's how I do it. If I'm going somewhere to write about a place, I take lots of notes by hand because I find that if I'm writing it, it's coming in a different way than taping it. Yeah. And I remember more if I'm writing it. I will then go home and I'll rewrite what I wrote into more coherent ways so that I have the beginning of a chapter. I think peace is part of learning how to quiet yourself, learning to get to your consciousness, your out of body relaxation, where you thought, I thought about that a while ago, or you're allowed to think freely that you don't get when you're around people all the time.
100%. Yeah.
And for me, who has lived such a people-focused life, I find that if we go to the beach, we do not entertain. If I go to Italy, I don't invite that many people because I treasure the time to now reflect and to make sure I am still aligned to what is important in my life, not your life, not Bill's life, but that's important in my life because we're challenged all the time, Maggie.
Yeah. Yeah. Does most of your writing for your books take place there, or are you able to carve out those kinds of spaces during your life in North Carolina?
I write mostly there.
Yeah.
Here, I've only been retired for a year, and I said to myself, I'm giving myself 1 year to unwind.
Yeah.
So I didn't have time to read. So I found that in the beginning, I was watching Netflix to kind of calm myself. I got so sick of it. And then I was devouring books.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But if you have not read Theo of Golden.
I just heard someone mention that the other day.
Maggie, if I could only have one book in this house, including cookbooks, I would have that book.
Wow.
It is thought-provoking. It is about a man who is successful in New York that moves to a small southern town, and you don't know what he did or anything, but you progress through these months to years where he lives there, and then you find out at the end. It is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, this person wanted to slow down and find a space and then find something to care about. I know what I want to care about. Mm-hmm. I just am carving a space now.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what people desire, to be able to carve that space. But I think sometimes they don't know how. And then when they carve the space, I think sometimes we run from what that feels like to sit and not be stimulated by talking to people, our phones, Netflix, even reading, whatever it is. Because I just said this to my daughter the other day. She happened to get the flu and she had been ill. She was getting better. And she said, I just don't feel well. I said, Julia, I understand your body might not feel well, but you're not allowed to, it's not, I'm saying not allowed, but boredom sometimes doesn't feel good.
That's right.
But boredom doesn't have to be boredom. I think sometimes we get afraid of feeling what being still looks like, and having that space. What that feels like is not what we're used to.
I could not agree with you more. And
because, for running a business, we've got this, we've got that, we've got an appointment, we got a trip to take, we got people to meet, we have things to do, we have finances to look at, we've got emails to write. And then all of a sudden, if we carve the space in the midst of all that, without it, like, who are we without all that?
I ditto.
Yes.
And as
it's uncomfortable.
But that's good.
It is good.
And then I know people like you're saying who are so afraid of having downtime.
Yes.
And I could understand it, but I also knew that was what I was missing, and that I was going to work through that to find afterwards what I wanted to spend my life on.
Yeah.
Versus this volunteer, this volunteer, this volunteer, this volunteer, these people, this new thing. And I've done all that. Yeah. I've done all of that for 74 years. Now it's time to also not be afraid of aging, not to be afraid of what's next.
Well, it's part of the human experience. I mean, unfortunately, mortality and aging is part of our life, as is suffering. And those are two things that can never, ever be taken away from the human experience. Now, people are trying. Technology might be trying, but it's not possible for us to run from those two things.
And I will say that one of the things I've learned by being with so many Italians is that they are much less afraid than we are.
Yeah.
They bring their older family members into their home to live. Now, I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying that
it's part of their culture. It's just part of the way they do things.
It is.
It's the part of the way that,
but why can't we move to places of comfort and accept that this is just the next step?
Yeah. We do. I think we run from that. And I think sometimes we think creating space and slowing down to create that, we kind of got to face that. And that's, I think that running from that, and I know my audience, I know there's people listening that are maybe at a transition in their life, much like you might have been over this past year, transitioning to a new role in your company.
Correct.
Transitioning to writing a different book, transitioning to people retiring, people whose adult children are now on their own. This whole feeling of what's next and how do I figure out what's next? But I believe the path is creating the space to get quiet and sit with ourselves and listen to our life for a while.
I agree. And I don't want your listeners to think it was easy.
No, it's not easy. That's what I say. I think it's the most uncomfortable thing in the world.
It is. I would wake up and I'd look at Bill, or I'd look at myself and go, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
I mean, what am I going to do? And then I'd say, I'm going to try to do nothing but read.
Yeah.
But it is not easy.
It's not easy.
The path is so necessary, especially if you've been super active in your life.
Yeah. And I think if anyone's a parent, for sure, people own a company on top of that, for sure. People are active in their communities, for sure. But I believe it's what we need. I think we need the space to think, and writing is such a healing way to do it, even if it's reflective and using your hands and a notebook and a pen and getting those things out of our brain. It's just wonderful. I think it's been the path for me. I know people that write books, you can tell by the stories they're writing, the things that they're talking about. And then the fun of it, of course, for cookbooks is having the cooking and the kitchen and the work and sharing meals with people on top of it. I think that they're the best genre of book. Now, Theo of Golden, I need to read that. Some great fiction, stories that are just so heartfelt and so thought-provoking, wonderful. The book I just read was called On the Calculation of Volume. It's about a woman that is on a business trip and she wakes up and realizes that she's experiencing the same day over. So she thought it was going to be November 19th and it ends up being November 18th. And she goes home and every day she wakes up at home with her husband, it's the same day.
Oh my God.
And he's doing the same thing. And she is like, what is going on?
Unbelievable.
So she starts writing on a notepad. Okay, this is day number 1 of experiencing November 18th. Here's what I'm doing. Here's what he's doing. And how she comes in and out of his life because he just thinks it's the same day. Now, this was written, I think, it's either it was Finland or Denmark. I can't remember,
Right.
But it's been translated to English. Now there's 7 books. So I don't know. I've read the first one, and it ends on a year later on the night of November the 18th. The real November the 18th on the calendar. So you don't know in the next volume if she's going to jump to the 19th or if she's going to have a whole nother year of experiencing November the 18th.
Well, I'm getting that book.
On the Calculation of Volume. So yeah, and this is a book. I don't know if you have to start with volume 1, but I would start with volume 1 because I'm not sure they've translated all of them into English yet. But it's an unbelievable story because it made me wonder, Susan, if we're all not experiencing, if our lives have become so routine that we're kind of doing the same thing day after day anyway. Someone just wrote about it. And maybe the challenge for all of us is to kind of shake things up a little bit so that every day isn't the same.
I love that idea because that is a question so many people ask me. You've been to Italy so much. Do you get bored? And I say, every day is different.
Yeah.
But every day can be different if you try to use different perspectives and you mix it up.
Yeah.
But there are people that are looking for something else than their routine.
Yeah.
And for me and for you, that's writing,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
it's having that time for ourselves to reflect. And as fearful as you said, that is, how great if more people were doing it.
100%. I think it really expands. And obviously, you can see how your books are able to multiply your friendships with people, your experiences in Italy in a way that nothing else can do.
Right.
Because people can now experience it and read about it. And people that you've never even met, which I think is also the most fascinating thing about a book like this is you are being read about in places that you don't even know.
Right.
And how wonderful that is. It's scary too to think about that, but I try to think about it in a way that's very life-giving and really does help people to experience their life in a better way.
Well,
that's what cookbooks are about.
That's what cookbooks are about. I have many, many people that want to tell me about their experiences in Italy and what they've eaten and what they've cooked. And that's exactly what you're saying.
Yep.
It brings enormous joy to know that others understand the old soul of Italy or the old soul of life.
That's right. That's right. Well, what a wonderful way to end our conversation talking about books and writing and Italy and glassware and for your book, Italy in a Glass. It was a beautiful book. I hope everyone gets their hands on a copy of it. And why don't you tell everybody how they can connect with everything we've talked about related to your business that you're now the CEO Emerita of, how they can connect with you online.
Absolutely. I mean, you can connect with me because there's a blog, Susan Gravely, at VIETRI.com. You can buy the book through Amazon. You can buy the book through VIETRI.com or possibly your local stores. We self-publish, so we're not going to be in the big booksellers yet, but you can see what we do on our website, VIETRI.com. And if anybody wants to write, to ask me about places to visit, sgravely at VIETRI.com. I will answer you. And in this second book, Italy in a Glass, we put a list of the places I talked about and their addresses.
Wonderful.
So people could visit there and eat there.
Yes, exactly.
And drink.
Eat, drink, and visit.
Be
and
merry.
Talk to the people that are creating all this beautiful glassware.
Yes.
Well, it's been a delight to reconnect for the second time, Susan, and I hope in the future we'll have other conversations about other books that maybe you're working on, and I can't wait for those days. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful time in Florence. We'll be thinking about you. You think about us in spirit, and let's encourage everyone who's listening to carve out those spaces to not only cook and share meals, but also to reflect and to write. It's an amazing life when you can combine all of those things together.
I agree. And Maggie, you are something spectacular. I'm so glad that our paths have crossed.
I am
Thank
too.
you.
I am too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of the Cookbook Love podcast. Again, all the links can be found in the show notes at www.cookbooklove.co. And if you are interested in writing a cookbook of your own, please check out the free cookbook writing masterclass called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. It is designed specifically for food or nutrition experts, and you can check that out at www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/free. So that's it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.